Hey Karen, thank you so much for joining us on Lessons from Leaders. I'm really happy that you're here.
Hi Barbara, thank you for having me.
No
I'm really
problem.
excited to talk to you today.
It's going to be a really good, fun chat. So there is so much that you can share because as a fellow coach, I just can't wait to kind of find out more about your journey. So tell us more. So tell us where it all started for you.
Well, if I was to rewind about 10 years from now, I was working in a corporate job. I love my job. I was a sales specialist. I was a sales trainer. I was really ambitious and really eager to do well. And then something quite large happened in my life and I had a baby. And I don't know if this resonates with you, and probably resonates with lots of people who are watching or listening to this in the future, in that it kind of throws everything out of the window for you. And I had no plan to leave my corporate job, but when I went back after my maternity leave, it was just hideous, Barbara. It was like the whole job had changed, my responsibilities had been stripped away, they'd been given to other people. And here's me thinking I'm just going to walk back in as if nothing had happened and, pick up where I left off. Because in all honesty, I was missing my job. I was really passionate about my work. But I very quickly realized that wasn't to be. So things went downhill at that very, very quickly. And what I realized is that I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be doing this job. It wasn't compatible. I didn't like the way I was being treated. And so very quickly and easily came to the decision that I was going to leave. And I didn't have a plan B. I had a baby, I had a supportive husband, but I had morals and ethics, and I didn't really like what was going on. And so I made that decision to leave. And so what happened at that moment in time, with no prior plan of having a business or doing anything on my own, I decided that I would work for myself and I would never, ever work for anyone else again. And so that's when my coaching business was born. Although actually in the early days, it wasn't really coaching. It was sales training, it was consulting, and it was mentoring. It wasn't until a few years later down the line that I realized that when I asked the clients that I was working with different types of questions, I got very different types of answers. And it was a massively pivotal moment in my career, because like a light bulb went off and I realized that that's what coaching was. And when I realized that, Barbara, I just wanted to learn and do it as much as I possibly could. And so that's when coaching really started for me. I was kind of catapulted into working for myself with no plans to do that. But that's what happened. And oh my goodness, isn't it funny? And I'm sure that some of this will strike a chord with you as well. Isn't it funny how sometimes the things that are the most traumatic in our lives, or the things which we don't plan for, or that are really, really stressful, turn out to be some of the best decisions we ever make?
Absolutely. Oh, I can think of so many situations in my own life where that's been exactly the case, where you think it's a door closing, when in actual fact it's a whole world opening up for you. That it's such a gift. But hindsight's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because at the time it doesn't feel like
it really doesn't feel like it. So I want to just go back a step, if that's all right, Karen. So you left this job, so the safety, if you like, of this job, and this illusion of security, I guess, that we have with a what I call a proper job, and you dove straight into being your own boss and running your own business. How long was it before you started to get clients?
Well, I was really lucky, Barbara, because I left the company. It was a huge process. It was like a grievance claim and almost tribunal as well. So I left under quite not very nice circumstances. But actually what happened instantly is that lots of my friends who say their husbands had businesses, or they had businesses, or they knew people had businesses, they said, oh, well, would you come and do some sales training for such and such? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to. And so I literally stepped straight into some client work. And I think that was really important, because I didn't really have time to think about it. It was those offers really that came up very, very early on, instantly, that made me realize that I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
I had something that I could share with people that people needed, and was good at sales. I was good at selling. I loved my job. I was the sales trainer for the company, and so it was quite an easy transition. But what wasn't easy was that, of course, I had a baby and I didn't really know how to run a business. I knew how to sell. I knew how to train people and teach people. I knew marketing, but I didn't really know the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle you have to pull together in order to go from no business to a thriving and profitable business. And so that bit took a bit of figuring out along the way.
Yeah, and that's often the case, isn't it, where you might have a spark of an idea or opportunities land in your lap, but everything else you have to actually figure out as you're going along. And it's quite funny, isn't it, that when you're running your own business, you often spend more time doing all the things that you didn't even think about, you know, all the back of house things to running a business, and less time actually doing the thing that you're actually really good at, which in your case at this point was selling and sales training. But so you were fast forward then, so you discovered coaching. What happened then? Because I know you are such a passionate coach now, and you talk a lot about the what coaching is and what coaching isn't, and so I'd love to know your journey into the coaching world then. So you discovered that you had these powerful questions that you could get a really good result with your client. So what were the next steps for you?
Yeah, I remember it really well. I was working with a client at that time who ran a nursery, and it was a pretty successful nursery. You know, maybe there were 50, 60, 70 children in the nursery. I can't quite remember because it was going back a good few years. But there were gaps, and the nursery wasn't doing as well as this nursery owner wanted it to be doing. And so we were working together. I was helping her with her marketing and her strategy, and really getting more customers through the door. That was ultimately her objective, as is the objective for many businesses. And up until that point, I've been very much kind of, well, this is the approach you should take, and do this, and have you thought about doing that? And I'd recommend you take this approach, and this and this and this, basically telling. But what I realized, and I don't know what triggered me to ask some different types of questions, when I started asking this client, okay, well, what do you think is the right answer here? And what stopped you from doing these things up until now? And when you think about this approach and the strategy we're putting in place, what things do you need to consider? And talk me through how you got to that decision. And what I got from that, what we got from that working relationship was so much more connection, so much more empowerment, so much more buying into it. And she just got way better results. You know, she did the things that really set her on fire, that really motivated her. She felt really connected to what we were working on. And I realized that is the difference between coaching and training, coaching and mentoring. Coaching is about drawing out of people, whereas a lot of other interventions are about putting in. And this is why people have light bulb moments in coaching sessions, because it's just different. It's amazing. Now, what I will say is there are obviously situations where you do have to tell. You know, the work that I do at the moment, if I have knowledge about something that my clients will benefit from, then of course, as their coach and mentor, I'm going to share that information. But I'm really equally just as passionate about the coaching as I am about the mentoring, because I think the two work together in the most beautiful way.
Oh, I completely agree, completely. So you had this epiphany, this real light bulb moment for yourself, and your client obviously got amazing results at that time. What did you do next? Did you explore coaching a little bit? Did you know what you'd stumbled into, or did you have to do some research?
Well, it's really interesting, Barbara, because of course we've all heard of the word coaching, and it's a word that is generally misused quite a lot, and it's just a widely used word that is out there. But what happened is I did do some research, and that's when I discovered that this thing that I'm enjoying doing, that is working really well for me in my business, this thing is coaching. And as soon as I realized that that's what that was, I was like on my computer, and up popped a free 2-day event with the Coaching Academy. So this was back in 2015. And I was like, oh, And it just sounded amazing, and it was free, and it was, hey, come and learn about this. And I was there like a shot. So I remember spending a whole weekend in this hotel with probably 100 other people learning about coaching, and I was completely sold. And it was at that point that I was, right, I really want to do this properly. I want to be the best coach I can be. I want to learn everything I can about coaching. And so that's when I enrolled on the personal performance diploma and the corporate executive diploma. And because I had my business background already, I didn't do the business diploma. And it was brilliant. And that 100% hands down is what has led me to the point that I am today.
Amazing. And you know what, how funny, we followed exactly the same path then, because I did exactly the same. So I went on that same free 2 days with the Coaching Academy in 2009, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So when did you say you were?
2015 that I did this. I thought it was 2013. It was around that time.
Around that time, yes. So now it was 2009. And the reason I remember is how old my daughter was at the time. So, and yeah, I did my first coaching qualification way back then was the personal performance.
Yes.
So it's how funny, but that's when I realised, even when I was in corporate, that what I'd always done being a coach, I'd always done coaching, but would never, I don't know, it's that word, it's overused, isn't it? But coaching was very much part of who my role and what I did. But it wasn't until I actually did the research and went into that room and thought, this is what I'm doing and this is what I love. So how funny that we both had the same path. I love that.
And it's so life-changing, isn't it, to actually really go through that diploma and learn in depth about something which is such a powerful intervention. It really did change my life, and it's a big part of my life, not just in the work that I do with my clients, but just in how I approach things and my perspectives on things and my strong mindset. And I'm sure the same is true for you. It's a great grounding.
Yeah, completely. I remember one of my aha moments in that hotel room, for the free 2 days, was one of the trainers talking about how it changed her relationship with her children. And I loved that. And it has absolutely been the case for me. So tell me about how you've used coaching elsewhere other than in your business. So maybe because I know you've got 2 children. So how does it change your relationship with them, or just how you deal with different situations?
It has changed absolutely every single aspect of my life, without doubt. And I know that's a really bold claim, but it's just, I'm a different person since I did those qualifications. So undoubtedly with my children, I think with your children, it's very easy to say, do this, do that, go and get dressed, and the rest of it. We just have to get things done as a family, don't you? Especially when children are young, there's a certain amount of stuff that just needs to happen. But it's made me a lot more patient, and it's made me kind of try and open up their minds to another way of thinking. I was just having a conversation with my daughter downstairs just before coming on this call with you, Barbara, and I was really just asking her those kind of open questions that all too often we don't ask. We ask closed questions, and when you ask closed questions, you get a closed answer. But when you open that question up, it's like you just get this array of the smorgasbord of information coming back to you. And this is what's so powerful in the work that we do as coaches, but also in the relationships we have with people as well. All too often people are quite quick to jump in and put their point of view across, waiting for that gap to talk for their turn in the conversation. And coaching trains you to be different with that. Coaching trains you to listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason in that particular ratio, and I really believe that is true. And there's Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People is seek first to understand before being understood. And that really, I think that really leads into this whole conversation piece as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm just such a massive advocate. This is why we do what we do, isn't it? So you had this epiphany moment and you went and did your qualifications, which is amazing. I'm assuming at that point then you had a little bit of a pivot with your business. Is that right? Or did it happen? Was it a much longer?
It wasn't as obvious as you'd think, because I think what I'd been doing, well, I know what I'd been doing, is I'd been coaching without realizing it. Not officially, not with any kind of structure to it, not with any intention behind it, other than the intention of helping my clients. But it was more of a kind of a gradual move over and then do the qualifications and just get a lot better at what I was doing. And also be able to promote myself and my business in a much more cohesive way as a result of that. There's nothing like training and knowledge and confidence in your own abilities to be able to promote your own business and really get clear on who it is you help and how you help people. And so that was a big part of what coaching helped me to do.
It's just amazing. And obviously your business looks very different from when it first started now. Yeah. So tell us about what your business looks like now.
Yeah, so when I got my coaching qualifications, there are two kind of traditional routes. There's a bit of overlap in the middle, but what I was finding is that coaches, certainly through the route that I came through, have two main choices. They go down the kind of offline route, face-to-face coaching meetings and networking and doing that whole kind of local thing, which is great. That's really, really works really well for so many businesses. But I didn't really want to do that, go down that route. I very early on realized that I wanted to get myself into the online space. And so straight after doing my coaching qualifications, I did a really intensive digital marketing course, which taught me so much. It was really hard, but it absolutely blew my mind. But it really is the reason why my business is where it is today, because I invested so heavily during that time in my learning and my development. I had a real clear vision of what I wanted my business to be like and look like. And I was quite relentless in the pursuit of making that happen. So I went down the kind of online route, and in 2018, I set up a group on Facebook, which has been a really great mechanism for my business because it has over 4,000 women in business in it. It's a way that I can connect with my ideal clients. It's a way that I can support people, and it's a way that I can develop relationships with people. We hear about these three words, know, like, and trust, a lot in business. And having the Facebook community has enabled me to do that. And I get most of my clients through my Facebook community. So, and I love it as well. I love hanging out in that space. I love the women in that space. And so from that, really, I set up one-on-one coaching programs, group coaching programs, my retreat. I had an event last year. So this is what my business is like today, and it is very, very different to how it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking back then, what would you have, I'd just be interested, what would you have told yourself if, at that time when you were leaving corporate, what advice would you give yourself back then, knowing what you know now about running your business, about what you're passionate about? What would you say to yourself?
I think when you're faced with the decision of going into self-employment, there's all sorts of barriers and obstacles that are thrown at you, and it's very, very easy for people just to get overwhelmed about the choices and the steps that they have to make. I mean, this is what my clients, this is what's happening with a lot of my clients at the moment as well. I can see the overwhelm. I can see that they don't know which bits to pull together and in which order. It's not like we're given an instruction manual on day one and said, this is the blueprint to having a successful business, follow it. So I really believe in the power of compound interest, or the compound effect. And so what I mean by that is how every day you take those small steps forward, and every day it's taking you closer to that point that you want to get to. Of course, those goalposts are moving anyway, so we never actually get to the point where we want to get to. But I really believe is you've got to just keep building and believing and chipping and doing and taking action, because it's easy to think, well, this isn't working. Let's just throw the towel in and do something else. This approach isn't right. But it is right. 9 times out of 10, it is right, or it can be right with a few tweaks and adjustments along the way. And what I see all too often is that people get frustrated and they quit and they go, oh, I'm going to do something else. This isn't working. But it's like, no, keep at it. You've got to be patient. You've got to be persistent. You've got to be consistent. And so what I would tell myself is to every single day take some action towards achieving my goals. No matter how small that action is, that's what's really important. And that's the basis of compound interest, is keep doing what you're doing. And soon enough, what will happen is the mass of all of those things will emerge, and you'll suddenly look at what you have or how far you've come and think, wow, this is working.
Absolutely. I think, again, there's so many similarities between us that I say things like, my catchphrase is you don't climb a mountain in one leap. You know, it's all those teeny tiny steps that all add up. But so often we get eager for that end result, and we get eager for our idea of success, and so we throw in the towel, get frustrated, and we don't give things enough time. And things just need time to cook. Yeah, you bake a cake and it's not instantly edible. It needs time to cook. And give yourself permission to allow yourself that little bit of time to get that momentum and snowball effect that happens, because the magic at the other side is just amazing, isn't it?
It is. And when you throw a bit of self-belief and relentless belief in yourself to make it happen, then it really, it's really powerful. I think you have to believe you can get there. You have to believe that it's possible. You have to believe that all of these things will work out and what you're doing is worth it. And it's that self-belief. And also, actually, another thing is doing those uncomfortable things as well, which I'm sure you agree with as well, Barbara.
Oh yeah, definitely. We can't really get away from the discomfort, because that's where the growth is, isn't it? But one thing that you said, I want to kind of just double back on, is that self-belief, because you are absolutely right. That is the foundation of everything. One of my favorite quotes, Karen, is by Henry Ford: if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So have you always had this self-belief that you were going to achieve success in your business, or that you were going to create your business the way that you wanted it to be?
Yes. Now, I don't want that to sound in any way funny. I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I've run some group coaching programs over the last couple of years, and this question comes up a lot. My clients, the people that I work with, often ask me this question, and I don't know how or why, but I have always had that ability to believe in what I'm doing. I think I have a strong mindset. I feel very lucky in the fact that I do. Now, that's not to say that I don't have days or periods in my life and my work and my business where it really throws a curveball at me and the times are hard. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it means that I can keep going. And I don't know where I get that from, but I am able to dig deep and believe that I will get there, and believe, I suppose actually part of that is resourcefulness. I think I'm quite able to think, right, okay, what do I need to do in order to make this happen? What have I missed? What do I need to bring into this in order to give this more power or a bigger chance of success? So yes, that's not to say 100%, but generally yes.
I love that. And I think, again, what you've stumbled upon in terms of resourcefulness is that you had the natural ability to look for that next small step. And often I see, certainly with my clients, is that they get either overwhelmed or they get stuck a little bit. And if you always look for that next small step, you're never going to go far wrong. You know, at least you're taking action. You're moving in whatever direction you're heading in, but at least you're taking action.
100%, because when people try to take a step that's too big, for example, when people don't set goals for themselves or in their business, and they say, well, I'm here and I want to get to here, and of course it's just a gap that's too big to bridge in one go. And so you have to break it down into the smallest actionable steps, because that's the way that progress is made. And so if you're not doing that, then it's going to be so much harder.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's switch it up a bit then, Karen. Let's have a quick fire round. Are you ready? So, let's see what Karen is like behind the scenes. So, what's your favourite food?
Oh, my favourite food. Right, okay, can I have a few?
It kind of defeats the object of a
All
favourite
right,
food. Yeah, go on then. I'm intrigued now. What's your few?
I love it. Okay, my favourite food, I love Chinese food, but particularly eating out in Chinese restaurants. Love it.
Too. I really like that. What else was on your list?
I really like fruit, but it's not like a meal as such, but I love fruit, like proper berries, mangoes, like tropical fruit. So fruit as a snack, but a meal would be a Chinese meal.
Yeah, I'm a big fruit person too, so awesome. Do you grow your own fruit?
Oh no. Have we? I suppose we've got some gooseberry bushes, raspberry bushes. So yes, I suppose, but they've never been terribly productive. So
We've got raspberry bushes and blueberry bushes at the minute, and I love it. I think that's like
you
free
get a lot of fruit from them.
loads. Yeah, so love it. Okay, what 3 items would you take if you were going on a desert island for 6 months?
For 6 months, I would take my phone with a charger. Is that allowed as one item?
Yep, you can have that.
I would take, gosh, what would I take to a desert island for 6 months? I would take some really nice, comfortable clothes, like really nice clothes that I could wear, that I feel good in, that like are gonna be nice to wear. And I would take, what else would I take? I would take, am I allowed to take people? No.
No, you're going on your own, I'm afraid.
I would take something really nice to drink as well.
Ooh, what would it be?
Well, I would take some really nice sugar-free lemonade, which is obviously a non-alcoholic version, but if I could take an alcoholic drink as well, I would make sure that I've got a supply of really nice gin and tonic as well.
Good choice. Okay, right, last question then. What toy did you always want as a child but you never actually got?
Rollerblades.
Did you never get any rollerblades? Oh, Karen.
That's a great question. What about you?
Mine was definitely a Mr. Frosty.
Oh yes,
I'm still quite bitter about it now, Karen, if I'm honest.
I remember Mr. Frosty.
I think one day I just need to buy myself a Mr. Frosty and get it out of my system. With that last question, this is the last question. Have you got a book that you would like to recommend that's been particularly impactful for you in your journey?
I really do, yes. I read this book, it was probably about 12 or 18 months ago. I didn't read it, I listened to the audio version of it, and it really has had a lasting impact on me. It's The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And the reason I liked it, it's not because it's made me get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, far from it. Some mornings I do get up really early, but that's not generally like a routine that I have consistently day in, day out. I tend to get up when I wake up. But what it really made me realize is the importance of habits. And it's a powerful story about survival from him in the first few chapters. And it just really opened my mind up to how self-belief is important. It's gone back to self-belief again, about how you do anything is how you do everything. And the importance of having really successful habits in your life that enable you to live your life with intention and with purpose, and enable you to break through those barriers that perhaps other people might not be able to break through.
Love it. Thank you so much. We'll put a link under this in the show notes of this episode to your book. So how can people get hold of you, Karen? Where do you hang out?
Oh, thank you. So well, I have a community on Facebook called the Smart Women's Business Hub. My business is Karen Kissane Coaching. You can find me by my website, karenkissanecoaching.com, or my business page on Facebook, or on Instagram as well. I'm actually also on LinkedIn. I'm on all of the platforms. So easy to get in touch with. Thank you.
We'll put those links under this episode too, so you can get hold of Karen. Karen, I've loved chatting to you. As always, I always love chatting to you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your lessons.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for inviting me on, Barbara.
See you later.
Bye.